very good morning and welcome to Austria, hosting the second round of the Biathlon World Cups for this season. In Sweden last weekend, they've moved down to Austria and it's not that much warmer, still -4, -5. Great snow conditions, lots of natural snow falling over the last 3 or 4 days. The wind could prove to be a problem, just as it was up in Sweden. And in fact, it's going to be a cracking race. 3 races up in Sweden, plus, of course, the mixed relay. And we started off today with the men's sprint. And Martin Fourcade was leading the World Cup this time last year. This time this year, he's leading the World Cup again. Things going just his way.
Yeah, he's had a great summer, and his 2 first places, and he was 10th though in the sprint last week in Östersund. He'll be wanting to get himself on the podium this time in today's sprint.
Well, the men's start coming up right after this break. Stay with us, it's going to be a cracker. Welcome back to Hochfilzen, a packed stadium. Fantastic news for a Friday afternoon. Bodes well for the weekend. We've got plenty more racing coming up. Now, the news that's broken this weekend, I'm sure many of you have seen it on the IBU website, is the fact that Mickey Greiss of Germany has decided to call it a day. And so, of course, we caught up with him earlier on.
Was ist denn der Beweggrund, was ist denn der Grund, weshalb wir heute hier sitzen?
Ja, Klage zu meinem Rücktritt.
Mickey Greiss asks what's going on. He says, well, this report's all about my retirement. He's been thinking about it for a long time and has decided to announce his retirement today. And he says it's going to be a once-only affair, and this is it. So, why have you come to this decision? Is it to do with injury? Did you think of any other options? Or did you wake up in the morning and say, okay, that's it, I'm going to call it quits?
Also es ist so, dass natürlich das Aufhören, gerade wenn man so lange Biathlon macht jetzt wie ich,
Mickey's saying that when you decide to retire, it's quite a long process. He says it's been a difficult year, and after the World Championships he tried to get himself together. He still believed he could produce a decent level of competitiveness. But you start to think differently about things, and although the summer went really well for him, he realised he was never going to be quite as good as he was before.
Man merkt dann einfach auch Dinge, die nicht ganz so optimal laufen, und zwar eben dann bei mir zu weit.
Yeah, he just thinks he can't really produce the top speed anymore, and so he's decided to call it quits. After the race in Östersund, Mike, the individual, the 20 kilometre, he just said he was empty. It does seem quite an impulsive decision, having gone through the whole of summer training, and you could say taking a junior's place or a youngster's place in the team, because you know, he's out there training with the rest of the German squad.
It's a valid point, and Benedikt Dahl, the 22-year-old's come in to replace him. I agree with you. You normally get athletes retiring after a World Championships and Olympic Games, or at the end of a season. Quite strange after just one race, and the good build-up that he had, but he maybe realises that it's a lot of young guys in the team. He's, what, 34, 35-year-old now, and his time is up. And he's had to come to that tough decision.
Yeah, well, we'll continue to chat about Mickey, because it's obviously the big news. Cast your eye down the start sheet. You will pick up 1 or 2 of the big names going later on, so we're in for a very interesting race. It's not loaded. The first group is not loaded with all the top seeds, so they're obviously undecided as to when the best conditions are going to be. And just to confirm that, I can tell you that the world #1, Martin Fourcade, he goes off number 83. There he is, in yellow today, as he has been since the start of the season. There's a chance he could stay in yellow all the way through to the end of the year. That would be a major achievement. And lots of other big names going later on. Ole Einar Bjorndalen, he's not drawn last today, Mike, but he is in the last group.
I feel, to be honest, Patrick, I think that Bjorndalen, when you look at his history here, as Franz Berger gets the race underway, you look at his performances here, he's had some amazing, he's had 12 wins here in his career. And remember that the World Cups only come here once a year. And he does like this place. I think he'll stamp his authority back on the field today.
Well, Christoph Suman is in the start gate, and of course he's a local man. He's going to get a massive cheer when he leaves. A decent-sized field for today's race. 107 starters, all 30 seconds apart, so just over the 53-minute mark to get them all away. Christoph Suman will be in, showered and on his way home by the time some of the later starters get underway. But don't forget, this man produced a podium position out in Östersund just a week ago. He is on form for the first time in 2 years, and it would be just the place that he would like to get another win.
I tell you what, I can't remember when I last saw Sumi psych up as much as he did there. He didn't really have the ski pace, certainly in the individual last week, but of course third. He shot so well, put himself onto the podium in the sprint race in Östersund.
Now the Austrians, Mike, as we look at Thomas Hasiller of Slovakia, we will see a lot of the Austrians today, obviously. Do you think they ski like the Germans, powerful? They've certainly got the power build, or is it a mix between the German style and the Scandinavian?
I think Christoph Suman, who just bib number 1 has just started, he began to change the way the Austrians ski by getting this kind of floating, easy movement which the Scandinavians give. And I think the rest of the young guys now in Austria have copied Christoph Suman.
Now, Atti Toivonen for Finland comes from Joensuu. He's very good in the prone position, but he needs to tighten up the standing chute if he's going to be a threat. Little bit loose on the skis, not quite as solid as we saw from Suman. The timing's not quite right, just doesn't look too easy. And the stability in the core area, Mike, that looks a bit suspect.
It is strange, and small technical issues create a lot of energy loss.
Krupnik, or Krupčík, I should say, for the Czech Republic. Outside the top 80 in Östersund, and you can see the ski speed not quite as dynamic, the technique's not as dynamic as we've seen from the previous 3 starters. Maybe just taking it easy, but this is the sprint event. It's got to be fast, you've got to take risks. Marcus Vindisch will certainly do that.
Well, Marcus, the older brother of Dominic, who placed so well last week up in Östersund, and 12th, I think, his brother Dominic was in the individual, shooting the perfect score. Wonder how that makes Marcus feel when he missed 8.
Not good. I think it's pretty straightforward. Jean-Philippe Legelic, is he going to produce the same sort of result as we saw last week? What a sensational win up in Sweden, and the Canadians totally overjoyed with his performances. We will see him later on. He starts reasonably early, Legelic, number 25. This is Damianowski for his second sprint of the season.
97th last week, so the ski speed there from the Moldovan Macedonian not as fast, not as competitive, maybe not even to qualify for the top 60.
This is the first of the Americans. Russell Courier from Fort Kent. Good sprint in Nova Mesto last year, so he knows, and he did the same in Kontiolahti actually, produced a top 6 result, which was a fantastic result. Consistency has not really been the Americans' trade name. They've produced some fantastic results. What we're really waiting for is all 4 of them to produce their very best in a relay, and then they certainly will challenge for the win.
Well, the Americans do have that potential. Now, Vega today, he must be remembering this day last year where he came 3rd. He's not quite on the same shooting form, Patrick.
Yeah, this time last year he was top 11 in the World Cup standings, in fact top 10 by the end of the day. At the moment he's lying 43rd in the World Cup ranking, so it's not been quite as good a start for Benny Vega, but where some have dropped down, others have gone up, and in fact 8 of the top 10 in the World Cup at the moment have had better starts to the season than they had last year. Fokada has had the same, he's number 1, and Svensson's dropped from 2nd last year to 3rd this year. Everyone else has moved up significantly, and perhaps the most noticeable is Anton Shapulin, who was 29th last year. He's all the way up into the top 8.
Nathan Smith, his best ever, well, it was over the last time the World Cups went over to North America in Presque Isle, and that was a 43rd position in the sprint, so his best ever at World Cup. He wants to better that today.
Benedikt Doll, now he's under a bit of pressure. The Germans have number 4, 5 and 7 in the World Cup standings at the moment. Mickey Grice, of course, not included in that as he's now retired. Doll desperately needs to get a good top result. His focus really will be on next year and Sochi, Mike, wanting to be in the top 4 of the German team for that. But he really needs to start impressing the coaches now.
He does, and I think you mentioned the great scores from the German team. I think they are doing better than their best ever dream of how this season would start. It went wonderfully well in Östersund for them.
Same can't be said of the Ukrainians quite yet, but they had a good end to last season and hopefully they'll find that form fairly shortly. With the Germans, Mike, is there a case for saying now the big names have gone, the Fischers, the Grices, the Gross have all gone, it's time for the youngsters to shine?
It seems to be that way, and with handing that mantle over to the youngsters, of course, Bernbacher, the only old-timer, if you like, but he only came good after many years World Cup, 2-3 seasons ago. So there's a real spirit in the German team to succeed and get themselves back to where they used to be.
Here's the hot shot of the Russian team for this season. Alexei Volkov, 20 out of 20 in the pursuit, but disappointingly only moved from 28th up into 10th position. So the shooting's there, the skiing's not quite on form, but things can change in a week. Certainly you can gain 2 or 3%. Bukeland for Norway. Only one race in Östersund, so I guess he's fresher than most.
I did wonder why Birkeland wasn't included in the sprint. He at 21st was really good in the individual race, but the Norwegian team, it's so strong. A 21st doesn't secure you tomorrow's race. So competitive.
Benny Vega going for that skate 2 option, but as you can see, he was starting to strain, so a good idea to change down the gears. And they used the different techniques like we use gears in a car. You pick the right one and it feels very easy. You get it wrong and well, you either strain the engine or you stall. And skate 2 up that climb would make 99% of us stall. We will see a couple trying to double skate it. 14, that's Kenanov for Bulgaria. Abramenko about to go for Belarus.
Well, interesting, Abramenko 38th last week in the individual, and that was largely to very good shooting, but 91st in the sprint race. I was surprised. I really have believed that the Belarus team, with the incredible coaching from Raphael Poiré, I think we will see them improving this season, but they didn't start maybe as they wanted.
Benedikt Doll up to the 1.2 kilometre stage. While we're watching one of the Germans, Mike, where do you think Mickey Grice comes in the all-time greats list, considering those 3 gold medals that he took in Torino in 2000?